The wrong table changed everything. A billionaire walks into a restaurant. A poor woman waits for a date who will never show. One question shatters both their worlds. Are you my blind date? What happens when wealth meets struggle? When control faces kindness? When three strangers, a guarded tycoon, a resilient survivor, and a dentist who refuses to be impressed, collide in ways none of them expected? This is a story about mistakes that become turning points, about power that means nothing, and presence that changes everything. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. Adrian Cole didn't do mistakes. Not in business, not in life. Certainly not in something as simple as showing up to the right table at the right restaurant at the right time. Yet here he was, standing in the dim amber lighting of Marcello's, an upscale Italian place with exposed brick walls and too many candles, staring at a reservation slip that made no sense. "Table 12?" the hostess had said, gesturing toward the back corner. He'd nodded, barely listened. His mind was already 3 moves ahead, calculating the negotiation he was about to have with a potential investor. Numbers. Projections. The usual dance of power and persuasion. He walked past tables filled with couples leaning into each other, past the soft murmur of conversation and clinking wine glasses, past the carefully curated atmosphere designed to make people feel like their lives were more romantic than they actually were. Table 12 sat in a quieter section, away from the main flow of the restaurant, perfect for business. Private enough for the kind of conversation where fortunes shifted hands. But when Adrian reached the table, there was already someone sitting there, a woman. She looked up as he approached, and for a split second, something flickered across her face, hope, maybe, or relief, before it settled into something more cautious. She was around 30, he guessed, dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Minimal makeup. A navy blue dress that looked nice but not expensive. The kind of outfit someone wore when they wanted to make a good impression but couldn't afford to overthink it. She didn't belong in a place like this. Not because she looked out of place exactly, but because there was something about her, a quiet steadiness, that felt too real for a restaurant designed around illusion. "Are you my blind date?" she asked. Her voice was soft, not timid, just careful, like someone who'd learned to guard hope before it could disappoint her. Adrian froze. A blind date. This wasn't his investor. This was someone else's reservation. Someone else's plan. Someone else's... He stopped himself. The smart move was obvious. Apologize, clarify the mistake. Walk away and find the right table. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she was looking at him. Not with the hunger he usually saw in people's eyes when they recognized his face or his name, but with something quieter. Expectation mixed with exhaustion. Like she'd been waiting a long time for something good to happen and wasn't entirely convinced it would. Maybe it was the way she sat, shoulders straight despite the weight she seemed to carry, hands folded neatly on the table, no phone out to distract her, just waiting. Or maybe it was the fact that for the first time in years, Adrian Cole had absolutely no idea what to do next. He started again, then pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. "Yeah," he said, "I guess I am." The lie hung between them like smoke. Lily Hart studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable. If she suspected anything, she didn't show it. Instead, she offered a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You're taller than your profile suggested," she said. Adrian had no idea what profile she was talking about. He nodded anyway. "I get that a lot." "And quieter. Also get that a lot." She laughed, a short, breathy sound that seemed to surprise her as much as it surprised him. "Well," she said, reaching for her water glass, "at least you showed up. That's more than I expected." There was a story in those words. Adrian could hear it, even if he didn't know the details yet. A history of disappointments, of people who didn't show up, of expectations lowered until they barely existed at all. He should have told her the truth right then, but instead he said, "Why wouldn't I?" Lily's eyes met his, and for a moment something passed between them, a recognition maybe. Not of each other, but of something shared, some understanding that neither of them had words for yet. "People don't always do what they say they will," she said simply. Before Adrian could respond, a waiter appeared, young, overly enthusiastic, clearly new. Good evening. Can I start you folks off with something to drink? Wine, cocktails? We have a wonderful Pinot Grigio that just came in. Water's fine, Lily said quickly. The waiter's smile faltered slightly. Just water? For now, yes. Adrian watched the exchange with growing awareness. The way Lily's hands tightened slightly around her napkin. The way she glanced at the menu without fully opening it. The way she seemed to be calculating something invisible. Actually, Adrian said, bring us a bottle of the Pinot and the antipasto plate to start. Lily's head snapped up. You don't have to. I know. I mean, water is really fine. I'm sure it is. He handed his menu back to the waiter without looking at it. But I'm hungry. You mind? It wasn't really a question, but he phrased it that way to give her an out. To make it her choice, not his decision. Lily hesitated, then shook her head. No, I don't mind. The waiter beamed and disappeared. Silence settled over the table again, but it felt different now, less uncertain, more weighted. So, Adrian said, leaning back in his chair, how does this usually work? This? Blind dates. Lily blinked. You've never been on one? Not really my thing. Then why did you agree to this one? Good question. Adrian had built an empire by knowing exactly what to say in every situation, by reading rooms and people and power dynamics with surgical precision, by never ever showing his hand unless he meant to. But sitting across from Lily Hart, he had no strategy, no angle, no endgame. So he told her the truth. I don't know, he said, and for some reason, that made her smile. The wine arrived, then the antipasto, prosciutto, olives, roasted peppers, fresh mozzarella arranged like something out of a magazine. Lily stared at it like it might disappear if she blinked. Go ahead, Adrian said. This is a lot. It's an appetizer. At this place, appetizers cost more than my groceries for a week. She said it matter-of-factly, without shame or self-pity. Just a statement of reality. Adrian had grown up around wealth, had spent his entire adult life building more of it. He knew the price of things, properties, companies, influence. But groceries? He couldn't remember the last time he'd thought about groceries. Then you better make it count, he said, pushing the plate toward her. Lily hesitated, then reached for a piece of prosciutto. She ate it slowly, deliberately, like someone who'd learned not to take anything for granted. So what do you do? Adrian asked. It was the kind of question people asked on dates. Normal, expected. But the way Lily's expression shifted told him it wasn't a simple answer. I work at a dental clinic, she said. Receptionist. Sometimes I help with billing. Sometimes I clean the rooms between appointments. You like it? It pays rent. That's not what I asked. Lily set down her wine glass. She'd barely touched it, and looked at him directly. No, she said. I don't particularly like it, but I'm good at it, and it's stable. And in my life, stable matters more than enjoyable. Adrian nodded. He understood that in a way. He'd built his entire company on stability, on control, on removing variables until nothing was left to chance. But somewhere along the way, stability had turned into something else, into walls so high he couldn't remember what existed outside them. What about you? Lily asked. What do you do? This was the moment to come clean, to tell her who he was, to explain the mistake. Instead, Adrian said, I run a company. What kind of company? Investment, acquisitions, development. Lily's eyebrows lifted slightly. Sounds intense. It can both be. Do you like it? No one had asked him that in years. People asked if he was successful, if the numbers looked good, if the next quarter would beat projections. But like it? I'm good at it, he said, echoing her words back to her. Lily caught the parallel and smiled. So we're both doing things we're good at but don't necessarily enjoy. Seems like it. That's depressing. Little bit, yeah. She laughed again, fuller this time, more genuine. The sound did something strange to the air between them, made it lighter, warmer. Adrian realized he was smiling too. When was the last time he'd smiled at dinner? Actually smiled, Not the corporate approximation of pleasantness he wore like armor. Can I ask you something? Lily said. Sure. Why did you really agree to this? You don't seem like the blind date type. Adrian picked up his wine glass, buying himself a moment. Maybe I was curious, he said. About what? About what happens when you say yes to something you'd normally say no to. Lily tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that should have made him uncomfortable but somehow didn't. And? She asked. What's happening? Adrian met her gaze. I don't know yet. They ordered dinner. Lily tried to pick the cheapest thing on the menu until Adrian ordered for both of them. Not in a controlling way, but in a way that removed the decision from her shoulders. She looked relieved. Over pasta and wine that Lily kept insisting was too good for a first date, their conversation deepened. Lily talked about her life in fragments, a childhood that hadn't been easy, parents who'd done their best with too little, a series of jobs that paid bills but never quite added up to something more. Dreams that had gotten smaller over time until they fit into the cracks of a life built around survival. She didn't say it with bitterness. That was what struck Adrian most. There was no resentment in her voice, no anger at the unfairness of it all. Just acceptance. Quiet, determined acceptance. I know it probably sounds pathetic, she said, twirling pasta around her fork. Like I've given up or something. It doesn't sound pathetic. No? It sounds honest. Lily paused, fork halfway to her mouth. Most people don't want honest. What do they want? The highlight reel. The version where everything's fine and you're doing great and life is just one Instagram story after another. Is that what you put on your dating profile? I don't have a dating profile. Adrian frowned. But I thought, my friend set this up, Lily said quickly. She made the profile, chose the photos, wrote the bio. She said I needed to put myself out there. She made air quotes around the phrase, her expression somewhere between amused and embarrassed. And you let her? She meant well. And honestly, what did I have to lose? Adrian thought about that, about what it meant to have so little that even disappointment couldn't take anything away. Your turn, Lily said, pointing her fork at him. Tell me something honest. About what? About why you're really here. And don't say curiosity again. Nobody looks that exhausted from curiosity. Adrian hadn't realized he looked exhausted. He kept his face carefully neutral in meetings, in negotiations, in every interaction that mattered. But apparently, sitting across from Lily Hart in a restaurant that smelled like garlic and wine, his mask had slipped. I have a son, he said. He hadn't planned to say it. The words just came out. Lily's expression shifted. How old? 6. That's a good age. Is it? I think so. Old enough to have real conversations. Young enough to still think you're the center of the universe. Adrian smiled, but it felt hollow. He doesn't think that. No? He barely knows me. The admission sat heavy between them. Lily didn't try to fix it with platitudes or reassurances. She just listened, which somehow made it easier to keep talking. I work a lot, Adrian continued. More than I should. More than I need to, probably. And I tell myself it's for him. That I'm building something he can inherit. That I'm securing his future. But I'm not there for his present. Lily set down her fork. Where's his mother? Gone. She left when he was 2. Said she didn't sign up for this life. I'm sorry. Don't be. She was right. This life, the schedule, the pressure, the constant demands, it's not for everyone. Is it for you? No one had asked him that either. I don't know anymore, Adrian said quietly. They sat in silence for a moment, the noise of the restaurant washing over them, other people's laughter, other people's conversations, other people's lives continuing unaware. Can I tell you something? Lily said finally. Yeah. You don't seem like you're here. Adrian frowned. What do you mean? I mean, you're sitting across from me, you're talking to me, but part of you is somewhere else. Like you're waiting for something to interrupt us. Like you're always half ready to leave. She wasn't wrong. Adrian had built his life around that exact stance, always ready to pivot, always prepared for the next crisis, the next call, the next thing that demanded his attention. He'd never thought of it as being absent. He'd thought of it as being prepared. But hearing Lily describe it, he realized how it must look, how it must feel to the people around him. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what?" "For not being entirely here." Lily shook her head. "You don't have to apologize to me. I'm just a stranger who happened to be sitting at the table you walked up to." But she didn't feel like a stranger. That was the thing Adrian couldn't quite explain, even to himself. He'd known Lily for less than 2 hours, and yet something about this conversation felt more real than interactions he'd had with people he'd known for years. Maybe it was because she had no agenda, no angle. She wasn't trying to impress him or use him or get anything from him. She was just there, present in a way he couldn't remember being in a long time. "Can I ask you something?" Adrian said. "Sure." "The person who was supposed to meet you tonight, the actual blind date, what happened to him?" Lily's expression flickered. "He canceled 2 hours before we were supposed to meet." "Did he say why?" "Just that something came up, which is code for 'I saw your photos and changed my mind.'" "That's a stupid reason." "Maybe, but it happens." "Has it happened a lot?" Lily looked down at her plate. "Enough that I almost didn't come tonight." "Why did you?" "Because my friend convinced me, and because—" She trailed off. "Because I didn't want to be the kind of person who stops trying." Adrian understood that too. The exhaustion of effort, the weight of continuing when everything in you wanted to quit. "Well," he said, raising his wine glass, "I'm glad you came." Lily met his eyes, searching for something. Sincerity, maybe, or proof that he meant it. Whatever she found, it seemed to satisfy her. She raised her glass too. "Me too," she said. They clinked glasses softly, drank, and for a moment the lie between them didn't matter. Dessert came, tiramisu that Lily insisted they share because she couldn't possibly eat a whole one herself. Adrian let her have most of it. As she scraped the last bit of mascarpone from the plate, her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, and her expression changed. "Everything okay?" Adrian asked. "Yeah, just my friend, checking if I'm still alive." "You should probably let her know." Lily typed out a quick response, then set the phone down. "She wants details." "What are you going to tell her?" "That I had a nice time." "Just nice?" Lily smiled. "Don't fish for compliments. It's unbecoming." Adrian laughed, actually laughed, not the controlled sound he used in business settings. It surprised him. "Fair enough," he said. The waiter appeared with the check. Adrian reached for it automatically, but Lily's hand shot out. "We can split it," she said. "You don't have to. I know I don't have to, but I want to." There was something fierce in her voice, pride maybe, or the need to maintain some kind of equilibrium when everything else in her life felt tilted. Adrian understood that too. "How about this?" he said. "I'll get dinner, you get coffee." "Coffee?" "There's a place down the street, if you're not sick of me yet." Lily studied him for a long moment. "I'm not sick of you." "Then coffee?" She nodded slowly. "Okay, coffee." Adrian paid the bill, ignoring Lily's protest, and they walked out into the cool evening air. The street was quieter now, the dinner rush over. A few couples strolled past. A car drove by with music thumping from open windows. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. Normal city sounds, normal city life. But nothing about this moment felt normal to Adrian. He walked beside Lily, their shoulders almost touching, and tried to remember the last time he'd taken a walk just to take a walk. Not to get somewhere, not to make a meeting, just to exist in motion. He couldn't. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said. "You keep asking if you can ask me things." "Is that a no?" "No. Ask." "Why haven't you checked your phone once tonight?" Adrian blinked. She was right, he hadn't. His phone had been in his jacket pocket the entire time, and he'd completely forgotten about it. When was the last time that had happened? "I guess I didn't think about it," he said. "Most people check their phones every 5 minutes." "I'm not most people," Lily smiled. "No, you're really not." They reached the coffee shop, a small place with mismatched furniture and art on the walls that looked like it had been painted by local students. Nothing like the sleek modern cafes Adrian usually frequented. Lily ordered a black coffee. Adrian got the same, even though he normally didn't drink coffee this late. They sat at a table by the window, watching people pass by outside. "So," Lily said, wrapping her hands around her cup, "what happens now?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, this was supposed to be a blind date, which it kind of was, even if you're not who I thought you'd be." Adrian's chest tightened. The lie. The original deception. It was still there, sitting between them like a third presence at the table. He should tell her, right now, just explain what happened. But what would he say? "I walked up to the wrong table and lied about who I was because I didn't know how to admit I'd made a mistake." It sounded absurd even in his head. "I guess that depends," Adrian said carefully. "On what?" "On whether you want to see me again." Lily's eyes widened slightly. "You want to see me again?" "Do you want to see me again?" "I asked you first." Adrian leaned forward. "Yes, I want to see you again." He meant it. That was the surprising part. He actually meant it. Lily looked down at her coffee, a small smile playing at her lips. "Okay." "Okay, okay?" "Yeah, okay." They exchanged numbers, real numbers, Adrian's personal cell that only a handful of people had. Lily saved it under Blind Date Guy, which made him laugh again. 2 laughs in one night. Maybe 3. He'd lost count. When they finally walked back outside, the temperature had dropped. Lily wrapped her arms around herself, and Adrian almost offered her his jacket before remembering that would be too much, too fast, too revealing of how much this evening had affected him. "I should get going," Lily said. "I have an early shift tomorrow. I'll walk you to your car." "I took the bus." "Of course she did." "Then I'll wait with you at the stop." "You don't have to." "I know." They stood at the bus stop in comfortable silence. A few other people waited too, an older woman with shopping bags, a teenager with headphones, a couple arguing in hushed voices. Regular people. Regular lives. Adrian couldn't remember the last time he'd been around this. Not watching from a distance, not analyzing from a position of power, just there. The bus pulled up with a hydraulic hiss. Lily turned to him. "Thank you," she said, "for tonight, for staying, for all of it." "Thank you," Adrian replied. For what? He wasn't entirely sure. For being honest. For not recognizing him. For treating him like a person instead of a name or a net worth. For reminding him what it felt like to be present. Lily smiled, a real smile this time, the kind that reached her eyes, and stepped onto the bus. Adrian watched it pull away, watched the taillights disappear into traffic, and only then did he pull out his phone. 17 missed calls. 43 unread messages. The world he'd forgotten about for 3 hours had continued without him. And for the first time in a very long time, Adrian Cole didn't immediately care. He stood at the empty bus stop, thinking about a woman who'd asked if he was her blind date, and wondering what the hell he was going to do about the fact that he'd lied to her. Because one thing was absolutely certain, he wanted to see her again. And when he did, she was going to find out exactly who he was. Adrian didn't sleep that night. He sat in his home office, all glass and steel and expensive furniture that nobody ever sat in, staring at his phone like it might offer answers it didn't have. Lily's number was saved under L. Just the letter, clean, simple. Nothing that would raise questions if anyone saw it. Not that anyone would. His assistant managed his calendar, not his contacts. And the people who had access to his personal phone could be counted on one hand. Still, he stared at that single letter and tried to figure out what the hell he was doing. He'd built a career on information, on knowing more than the other person in the room, on controlling narratives before they could control him. But with Lily, he'd done the opposite. He'd lied by omission, let her believe something that wasn't true. And now he was stuck in a situation where coming clean meant admitting he'd been dishonest from the first moment. The irony wasn't lost on him. His phone buzzed. A message from Marcus Chen, his COO. Board meeting moved to 9 a.m. Grayson's pushing the Meridian deal. We need to talk strategy. Adrian typed back a single word. Fine. Then he set the phone down and walked to the window. The city stretched out below him, all lights and movement and lives happening in buildings he probably owned pieces of. He'd bought his penthouse specifically for this view, paid an obscene amount of money to feel like he was above it all. Tonight, it just made him feel distant. His son's room was down the hall. Adrian walked there quietly, even though he knew the nanny would have put Ethan to bed hours ago. The door was cracked open. A nightlight shaped like a spaceship cast blue shadows across the walls. Ethan slept on his side, one arm wrapped around a stuffed dinosaur that had seen better days. His dark hair stuck up in the back. His breathing was soft and even, 6 years old. Adrian tried to remember what he'd been doing at 6, playing in a backyard that didn't exist anymore, eating dinners at a table his mother had bought secondhand, listening to his father talk about deals that never quite panned out. He'd promised himself Ethan would have different, better, more. But standing in the doorway of his son's room, Adrian wondered if more was the same as enough. He pulled the door closed and went back to his office. The cursor blinked in an empty message box. He'd opened a text to Lily 3 times and deleted it 3 times. What was he supposed to say? Hey, remember me? The guy who pretended to be your blind date? Funny story about that. No. I had a great time tonight. Also, I'm a billionaire and I lied to you. Coffee again sometime? Worse. Adrian closed the message and opened his email instead. Work. That he could handle. Contracts and acquisitions and projected earnings, those had rules, logic, clear outcomes. By the time the sun came up, he'd answered 47 emails and made decisions on 3 separate deals. But he still hadn't texted Lily. The morning meeting was exactly as brutal as Marcus had warned. Adrian sat at the head of the conference table, listening to Grayson Marshall, his VP of Acquisitions and the human embodiment of aggressive capitalism, make his case for the Meridian deal. It's $1 billion opportunity, Grayson said, clicking through a presentation that probably cost more to produce than most people made in a year. Meridian Properties is underwater. Their debt-to-equity ratio is catastrophic. We buy them out, restructure, flip the assets. 18-month timeline, conservative estimate puts us at 340% ROI. The other board members nodded. Numbers like that made people nod. What happens to their current tenants? Adrian asked. Grayson blinked. Sir? Meridian manages low-income housing developments, 4 buildings across the city. What happens to the people living there when we restructure? Well, that would depend on the restructure parameters, but likely we'd convert to market rate units. Standard operating procedure. So they'd be displaced. That's not really our concern. We're acquiring assets, not social programs. The room went quiet. Marcus shot Adrian a look that said, not now. But Adrian was tired. He'd been tired for years, actually, but last night had made him realize it. Tired of conversations like this. Tired of treating people like line items. How many units? He asked. I'm sorry? How many people would be displaced? Grayson shuffled through his papers. Approximately 800 units. Average occupancy is 2.3 people per unit, so roughly 1,800 individuals. Families. What? 1,800 individuals means families, kids, people who can't afford market rate rent, which is why they're living in low-income housing in the first place. Grayson's jaw tightened. With all due respect, sir, this is a business decision. We can't let sentiment interfere with... I'm not talking about sentiment. I'm talking about consequences. The room shifted. Adrian could feel the confusion. This wasn't how he normally operated. He didn't push back on profitable deals because of abstract concerns about people he'd never meet. Except now he could see them. Could imagine Lily in one of those units, working 2 jobs, stretching paychecks, trying to keep stable in a world that kept tilting. Table it, Adrian said. Grayson's eyes widened. Sir? I said table it. I want a full impact assessment, not just financial. I want to know exactly what happens to those tenants, where they'd go, what resources they'd need, what it would cost us to relocate them properly. That would take weeks. Then it takes weeks. Other buyers are circling. If we hesitate, then they can have it. The silence was absolute. Marcus cleared his throat. Adrian, can we take 5? It wasn't really a question. They stepped into the hallway, glass-walled, overlooking the city from 40 stories up, and Marcus rounded on him. What the hell was that? That was me asking questions. That was you killing $1 billion deal because you suddenly grew a conscience. What happened? You meet a social worker last night? Close enough. I'm not killing anything, Adrian said. I'm asking for due diligence. We did due diligence. Grayson's been working this deal for 3 months. Financial due diligence. I want human due diligence. Marcus stared at him. They'd known each other for 15 years, built the company together from nothing. Marcus knew when Adrian was bluffing. This wasn't a bluff. Are you okay? Marcus asked, his voice lower now. I'm fine. You don't seem fine. You seem like you're about to blow up a major acquisition because you're worried about hypothetical tenants in buildings we don't even own yet. They're not hypothetical, they're real people. I know they're real people, but we're not a charity, Adrian. We're a company, and companies make hard choices. Adrian looked out at the city. Somewhere down there, Lily was sitting at a reception desk, answering phones, filing insurance claims, probably not thinking about him at all. Maybe we've been making the wrong hard choices, he said quietly. Marcus didn't respond right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was careful. Does this have something to do with Ethan? What? You've been different lately, more distracted. I thought maybe something was going on with your son. Ethan's fine. Then what is it? Adrian turned to face him. I'm 48 hours away from lying to every person in that room about what I did last night. And I'm realizing I've been lying to myself about a lot of other things too. That's cryptic as hell. Yeah, I know. Marcus studied him for a long moment, then sighed. How long do you need? For what? To figure out whatever this is, because the board's going to want answers. Give me a week. A week to decide on Meridian? A week to decide what kind of company we want to be. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. That's a hell of a question to ask after 15 years. Better late than never. They went back into the conference room. Adrian announced the pause. Grayson looked like he wanted to argue but didn't. The meeting ended 20 minutes later with more questions than answers. Adrian's phone buzzed as everyone filed out. A text from an unknown number. Hey, this is Lily, from last night. Just wanted to say thanks again. Hope you got home okay. His heart did something stupid in his chest. Marcus paused at the door. You coming? In a minute? When he was alone, Adrian read the message 3 more times. Then he typed, I did. You? Her response came fast. Yeah, bus was late, but I made it. Are you always this formal in texts? Despite everything, the meeting, the deal, the lie still sitting between them, Adrian smiled. I don't text much. Shocking. You seem like the type who has people text for you. She was joking. She had no idea how close to the truth that was. Not always. Just usually. Something like that. A pause. Then, so, was that a one-time thing? The dinner? Adrian's thumb hovered over the keyboard. This was it. The moment to come clean, to tell her the truth before this went any further. He typed, I hope not. Sent it before he could overthink. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Me too. And just like that, Adrian Cole, who'd built an empire on calculated decisions, made another terrible choice. He didn't tell her. The dental clinic where Lily worked was in a neighborhood Adrian never had reason to visit. Strip malls, pawn shops, a grocery store with bars on the windows. He knew this because he'd looked it up. Not in a creepy way, just in a thorough way. Which was probably still creepy, but he told himself it was research. 3 days after their dinner, his tooth started hurting. It wasn't a coincidence. Adrian had been grinding his teeth at night for years. Stress, control issues. The usual culprits. His regular dentist had made him a night guard that he never wore. But now his back molar was throbbing, and he had a choice to make. Go to his regular dentist, Dr. Peterson, who had an office that looked like a day spa and probably cost the same. Or Adrian found himself driving to Lily's clinic. He told himself it was practical. He was in the area anyway, had a meeting nearby. Total coincidence. The lies were getting easier. That should have worried him more than it did. The clinic was small, crammed between a laundromat and a cell phone repair shop. The sign outside said Riverside Dental in letters that had seen better days. Adrian parked his car, a Tesla that probably cost more than the entire building, and felt wildly out of place. Inside was worse. Fluorescent lights, plastic chairs, a water dispenser that gurgled ominously, the kind of place that ran on thin margins and hope. And behind the reception desk, typing something on a computer that had to be at least 10 years old, was Lily. She looked up when the door opened. Her eyes widened. Adrian? Hey, What are you... Do you have an appointment? No, I was in the area and my tooth is killing me. Thought I'd see if anyone had an opening. Smooth, real smooth. Lily blinked. You were just in the area. Yeah. In this neighborhood. Yes? She looked like she was trying not to smile. Okay. Let me check the schedule. She clicked through screens on the ancient computer. Adrian stood at the counter, acutely aware of how expensive his suit looked in this space, how everything about him screamed wrong place. We actually have a cancellation, Lily said. Dr. Clark can see you in 20 minutes if you don't mind waiting. That's fine. I'll need your insurance information. I'll pay cash. Lily's fingers paused over the keyboard. For a dental visit? Is that a problem? No, it's just, most people don't. I'm not most people. That smile broke through. Yeah, I'm starting to notice that. She handed him a clipboard with forms. Adrian sat in one of the plastic chairs. It creaked under his weight, and tried to focus on the paperwork. But mostly he watched Lily. She was good at her job. Patient with an elderly man who couldn't hear well. Efficient with a woman who was juggling 2 small kids. Kind to everyone in a way that felt genuine, not performative. This was her world, where she spent 40 hours a week answering phones and filing insurance claims and probably dealing with people's complaints about wait times and billing errors. And she did it without complaint. Adrian had spent the morning in a meeting where people argued about millions like they were discussing lunch orders. Then he'd driven here to a clinic held together with duct tape and determination and watched Lily treat every person like they mattered. The contrast wasn't subtle. Mr. Cole? A woman stood in the doorway leading back to the examination rooms. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair pulled back, scrubs that had been washed so many times the color had faded. She held a chart, his chart, presumably, and looked at him with absolutely zero recognition. That's me, Adrian said, standing. I'm Dr. Clark, follow me. He glanced at Lily as he passed. She gave him a small wave. The examination room was exactly what he expected. Older equipment, clean but worn. The chair had probably been state-of-the-art in 1995. Dr. Clark gestured for him to sit. So, what brings you in today? Tooth pain, lower right side. How long? Couple of days. Gets worse at night. She made a note, then moved to wash her hands. Any sensitivity to hot or cold? Some. Have you been grinding your teeth? Probably. Stress? You could say that. Dr. Clark dried her hands and pulled on gloves. Open wide. Adrian opened his mouth. She examined the tooth with the kind of focused attention that reminded him of surgeons he'd met. Competent. Thorough. Not impressed by anything except the problem in front of her. You've got a crack in the filling, she said finally. Probably from the grinding. We can fix it today if you want. Take about 40 minutes. Let's do it. All right, I'll get you numbed up. She prepared the injection with practiced efficiency. Adrian tried not to think about how much less pleasant this was than Dr. Peterson's office, where they had TVs on the ceiling and offered you champagne. Little pinch, Dr. Clark said. The needle went in. Adrian barely felt it. So, Doctor, Clark said, stepping back to let the numbing agent work. You know Lily? Yeah, we met recently. She mentioned you were coming in? No, this was spur of the moment. Dr. Clark's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Assessment, maybe, calculation. Lily's a good person, she said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement with weight behind it. She seems like it, Adrian said carefully. She is. One of the best people I know, actually. Works hard. Doesn't complain. Shows up every day and does her job even when things are falling apart around her. Things fall apart around her often. Life does. Dr. Clark leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You dating her? The directness caught Adrian off guard. We've been on one date. Planning on more? I'd like to. Why? Excuse me? Why do you want to date Lily? She's not your usual type, I'm guessing. Adrian could have bristled at that. Could have asked what business it was of hers. But Dr. Clark wasn't being rude. She was being protective. And honestly, he respected that. What makes you think you know my usual type? He asked. The suit, the watch, The car I saw you get out of? You're not from around here. Does that matter? Depends on your intentions. My intentions are to get to know her better. That's vague. It's honest. Dr. Clark studied him for a long moment. Whatever test she was running, Adrian wasn't sure he passed, but eventually she pushed off the counter. All right, let's fix this tooth. The procedure was exactly as promised. 40 minutes of drilling and filling while Adrian stared at the ceiling tiles and tried not to think about the conversation he'd just had. When it was done, Dr. Clark stripped off her gloves. You're all set. Try not to grind your teeth. If you do, get a night guard. I have one. Then wear it. Yes, ma'am. That got a small smile. You can pay up front. And Mr. Cole? Yeah? Lily's been through enough. If you're not serious, walk away now. Adrian met her eyes. What if I don't know yet if I'm serious? Then figure it out before you hurt her. It wasn't a threat. It was advice. And Adrian couldn't argue with it. He paid cash at the front desk. Lily processed the payment with her eyebrows raised. That's a lot of cash to carry around, she said. I like to be prepared. For surprise dental visits? Among other things. She handed him his receipt. Their fingers brushed. It lasted half a second, but Adrian felt it longer. So, Lily said, was Dr. Clark nice to you? Define nice. Oh no, what did she say? Just asked about my intentions. Lily's face went red. She didn't. She did. I'm so sorry. Emma's protective. Emma? Dr. Clark, we're friends. Have been for a while. She seems like a good friend to have. She is. She's also completely mortifying sometimes. Lily covered her face with her hands. I'm going to kill her. Don't. She was just looking out for you. Still. Adrian glanced toward the back. Through the window in the door, he could see Dr. Clark, Emma, talking to another patient. She didn't look over, but he had a feeling she knew exactly where his attention was. Can I ask you something? He said to Lily. After that interrogation, you've earned it. Are you free Friday? Friday? Yeah, there's a community event. They're doing free dental screenings for kids. Emma mentioned it while she was drilling into my skull. Said you were volunteering. Lily's expression shifted. Surprise, maybe, or suspicion. How did that come up? I asked what else the clinic does. She told me about the outreach programs. It was technically true. Emma had mentioned it, eventually. So you want to, come to a kid's dental screening? I want to volunteer if you need help. Lily stared at him. You want to volunteer? Is that weird? Yes, extremely weird. Why? Because people don't usually volunteer for things after knowing someone for 3 days. Maybe I'm not usual. Yeah, I'm definitely getting that impression. But she was smiling now. That smile that made Adrian forget about deals and board meetings and every careful decision he'd built his life around. We could use the help, she said finally. It's at the community center on 5th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'll be there. You sure? It's mostly setting up chairs and entertaining kids while their parents fill out forms. Not exactly exciting. Adrian thought about his usual Fridays, conference calls, strategy sessions, Ethan being picked up from school by the nanny while Adrian worked late. I think I can handle it, he said. Lily studied him, really studied him, and Adrian had the uncomfortable feeling she could see more than he wanted her to. But whatever she saw, she didn't push. Okay, she said. Friday. Adrian left the clinic with a numb jaw and a sense that he'd just made another decision he couldn't take back. His phone rang before he even reached his car. Marcus. Where are you? Dentist. Your dentist is in Riverside? Adrian unlocked his car. It's complicated. Everything with you is complicated lately. Listen, Grayson's losing his mind about Meridian. The other buyers are making moves. We need a decision. I said a week. That was 4 days ago. Then I still have 3 days. Adrian, 3 days, Marcus. Then I'll make the call. He hung up before Marcus could argue. Driving back to the office, Adrian couldn't stop thinking about the clinic, about Lily at the desk, competent and kind, about Emma, drilling into his tooth while simultaneously drilling into his motivations, about the fact that he'd just committed to spending an entire Friday doing something that had nothing to do with profit margins or strategic acquisitions. His father would have called it a waste of time. His board would call it a distraction. But sitting in traffic, jaw still numb from Novocaine, Adrian thought it might be the first real thing he'd done in years. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Emma says you passed the test." "Barely." Adrian smiled. "Didn't realize there was a test. There's always a test. You're lucky she likes you." "Does she?" "She didn't ban you from the clinic. That's as good as it gets." Adrian typed, "What about you?" The three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Jury's still out. He could work with that. Friday morning arrived with the kind of gray sky that couldn't decide if it wanted to rain or just threatened to. Adrian stood in front of his closet at 6 a.m., staring at rows of suits like they might offer guidance. What did you wear to volunteer at a community dental screening? Not a $3,000 suit. That much was obvious. He settled on jeans, the one pair he owned that actually looked worn, and a plain gray Henley. Casual, normal. The kind of thing a regular person might wear. Except Adrian didn't feel like a regular person. He felt like someone playing dress-up in his own life. Ethan was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with his nanny, Mrs. Chen. She was walking him through breakfast with the kind of patient efficiency that made Adrian feel simultaneously grateful and guilty. "Morning," Adrian said. Ethan looked up from his cereal. "You look weird." "Thanks, buddy." "No, I mean different. Where's your tie?" "Don't need one today." "Are you sick?" Mrs. Chen hid a smile behind her coffee cup. "No," Adrian said, pouring himself coffee he probably didn't have time to drink. "I'm volunteering at something." Ethan's eyes widened. "Like for school?" "Sort of." "At a community center?" "Can I come?" The question stopped Adrian cold. When was the last time Ethan had asked to spend time with him? Actually asked, not just accepted whatever arrangement Mrs. Chen had made? "It's a dental thing," Adrian said. "Probably boring." "I like teeth." "Since when?" "Since I lost one." Ethan grinned, showing the gap where his front tooth used to be. "See?" Adrian did see. Had he noticed when it happened? Had Ethan told him? He couldn't remember. "Maybe next time," Adrian said, and hated himself for the disappointment on his son's face. Mrs. Chen cleared her throat. "Actually, I was going to take Ethan to the library this morning, but if you'd like to bring him..." She was giving him an out, a chance to say yes, to be the father who showed up. Adrian checked his watch. He was supposed to meet Lily at 10. It was 6:30 now. Plenty of time. "You really want to come?" he asked Ethan. "Yeah. It's going to be kids getting their teeth checked. You okay with that?" "Will there be prizes?" "I have no idea." "Then it's an adventure." Adrian couldn't argue with that logic. 20 minutes later, they were in the car. Ethan in the back seat, chattering about a book he was reading, something about dragons. Adrian caught maybe half of it, while Adrian navigated toward 5th Street. The community center was exactly what he expected. Brick building that had seen better decades. Parking lot with more cracks than pavement. A sign out front advertising the free screening in both English and Spanish. Cars were already there. Not many, but enough to indicate this was a bigger operation than Adrian had anticipated. "This is it?" Ethan asked, peering out the window. "Yep." "It looks old." "It is old. Do they have dragons?" "Probably not, bud." Inside was organized chaos, folding tables being set up, dental equipment being unpacked from cases. A woman with a clipboard barking instructions to a small army of volunteers in matching blue t-shirts. And in the middle of it all, hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing jeans and one of those blue shirts, was Lily. She saw Adrian and froze mid-sentence. Her eyes dropped to Ethan, then back to Adrian. He could see the question forming. "Hope it's okay I brought reinforcements," Adrian said. Lily recovered quickly. "Of course, we can always use more help." She crouched down to Ethan's level. "Hi there, I'm Lily." "I'm Ethan. I lost a tooth." "I can see that. Very impressive." "It was loose for weeks. Then it just fell out in my cereal." "That's the best way, I think. Quick and easy." Ethan nodded seriously. "That's what Mrs. Chen said too." Lily glanced up at Adrian. He could read the question in her eyes.
"Who's Mrs. Chen?" But she didn't ask. Just stood up and grabbed a clipboard. "Okay, so here's the deal. We're expecting about 50 kids today, maybe more if word spreads. They come in, parents fill out forms, kids get a quick screening, everyone gets a toothbrush and some basic education about dental hygiene." "What do you need me to do?" Adrian asked. "Can you set up chairs in rows? About 30 should do it."
"They're stacked in the storage room. On it. And Ethan," Lily looked down at him, "how are you with coloring?" "Pretty good." "Perfect. We have activity stations for kids who are waiting. Think you can help keep them entertained?" Ethan looked at Adrian, who nodded. "Okay," Ethan said. Lily led them through the controlled chaos, pointing out different stations. The waiting area. The screening stations, 3 of them, each with a portable dental chair and equipment that looked like it had been donated from various clinics. The checkout table where parents would get care instructions and referrals if needed. Emma was at one of the screening stations, organizing instruments with the kind of precision that probably drove her crazy in most situations. She looked up when Adrian approached. "You actually showed up," she said. "Told you I would." "People say a lot of things." Her eyes moved to Ethan. "Who's this?" "My son." "Ethan." Something shifted in Emma's expression. Not quite approval, but maybe a downgrade from suspicion to cautious neutrality. "Nice to meet you, Ethan," she said. "Are you a dentist?" Ethan asked. "I am." "Do you fix teeth?" "That's the job." "My dad had a tooth fixed. He said it didn't hurt." Emma's eyes flicked to Adrian. "He lied. It definitely hurt." Adrian laughed despite himself. "Storage rooms through there," Emma said, pointing. "Chairs are against the back wall. Try not to drop them on your foot." "Thanks for the vote of confidence." "Don't mention it." The storage room was exactly as advertised, dusty, cramped, and filled with the kind of miscellaneous junk that accumulates in community centers over decades. The chairs were metal folding ones, stacked precariously against the far wall. Adrian started hauling them out, 2 at a time. By the 5th trip, he'd taken off his Henley and was working in just a t-shirt. By the 10th trip, he was sweating. When was the last time he'd done actual physical labor? He worked out, sure, had a personal trainer who came to his building 3 times a week. But this was different. This was functional, purposeful. This mattered in a way that bench pressing didn't. "You need help?" Adrian turned. A kid, teenager, maybe 17, stood in the doorway, skinny, nervous. Volunteer shirt 2 sizes too big. "Sure," Adrian said. Grab the other end." They worked in silence for a few minutes, setting up rows of chairs in the main room. The kid, his name tag said Miguel, kept shooting glances at Adrian like he was trying to figure something out. "You done this before?" Miguel asked finally. "Setting up chairs?" "Volunteering." "Not really." "You?" "Yeah, my mom makes me. She works here." "Doing what?" "Administrative stuff, scheduling, funding applications. Basically everything." Miguel said it with the particular mix of pride and embarrassment that kids have about their parents. "Sounds important," Adrian said. "I guess. Doesn't pay much." They finished the last row. Miguel stepped back, surveying their work. "Not bad," he said. "You line them up better than most people. Years of practice sitting in straight lines." That got a small smile. By 9:30, the center was ready. Chairs in rows. Station set up. Volunteers briefed. The woman with the clipboard, turned out she was the center director, Maria Santos, Miguel's mother, did a final walkthrough. "Looks good, people," she announced. "Doors open in 30 minutes. Remember, we're here to help. Keep it friendly, keep it efficient, and keep it moving. We've got a lot of kids to see." Lily found Adrian near the supply table. Ethan was already stationed at the coloring table, showing a little girl how to stay inside the lines. "He's good with kids," Lily observed. "Yeah, he is." "Must get it from you." Adrian almost laughed. "Definitely doesn't get it from me." "No? I'm not exactly Father of the Year." It came out more honest than he meant it to. Lily didn't respond right away, just watched Ethan help another kid find the right crayon. "He showed up with you," she said finally. "That counts for something." Before Adrian could respond, the doors opened. The families came in waves, some tentative, like they weren't sure they belonged, others purposeful, clearly here for specific help. Parents filled out forms while kids darted between activity stations. Adrian found himself doing a dozen different jobs, moving chairs when a mother needed space for a stroller, helping a kid who couldn't reach the water fountain, translating, badly, for a Spanish-speaking father until Maria appeared and did it properly. He watched Lily move through it all with the same quiet competence she'd shown at the restaurant, at the clinic. She knew people's names, remembered details from previous visits, made everyone feel like they weren't just a number in line. Around 11, Adrian took a break to check on Ethan. His son was deep in conversation with a girl about his age, both of them working on an elaborate coloring page of a smiling tooth. "How's it going, bud?" Adrian asked. "Good. This is Sophia. She's scared of the dentist." Sophia nodded solemnly. "That's okay," Adrian said, crouching down. "Lots of people are scared of the dentist." "Are you?" Sophia asked. "Sometimes." "Really? Really? But the dentists here are really nice. And it's quick, just to look at your teeth to make sure everything's healthy." "Will it hurt?" "Nope. No needles or drills or anything. Just a checkup." Sophia considered this. "Okay. And after, you get a prize." "What kind of prize?" "Let's find out together." Adrian stood and offered his hand. Sophia looked at her mother, a tired-looking woman in scrubs, probably on her lunch break from work, who nodded encouragement. Sophia took Adrian's hand. They walked to the screening area together. Emma was at Station 2, currently finishing up with another kid. "Got a customer for you," Adrian said. Emma looked at Sophia. "Hi there. What's your name?" "Sophia." "Nice to meet you, Sophia. I'm Dr. Clark. Want to sit in this chair? It goes up and down. Pretty cool." Sophia climbed up hesitantly. Emma raised the chair slowly, narrating the whole thing like it was an amusement park ride. "Okay, Sophia, I'm going to count your teeth. Think you can help me count?" Sophia nodded. Adrian watched the whole examination, watched Emma work with practiced ease, turning something scary into something manageable, watched Sophia go from nervous to curious to proud when Emma announced she had 20 perfect baby teeth. "You did great," Emma said, handing Sophia a toothbrush and a sticker. "Keep brushing twice a day, okay?" "Okay." Sophia hopped down and ran to her mother, already talking about the special chair. Emma caught Adrian's eye. "You're better at this than I expected." "At what?" "Being helpful without being in the way." "That's almost a compliment." "Don't let it go to your head." But she was smiling slightly. Approval earned, apparently, one interaction at a time. The lunch break came around 1. Maria's husband showed up with pizzas donated from a local restaurant. Everyone grabbed slices and scattered around the room, volunteers mixing with families, kids running around with paper plates. Adrian found Lily sitting on the floor near the coloring table, pizza in one hand, phone in the other. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. She scooted over. "How's your first volunteer experience?" "Humbling." "Yeah?" "I had no idea how much work goes into something like this." "Boop." Lily took a bite of pizza. "Emma does this every month. Different communities, different setups, same mission. She says every kid deserves access to dental care, regardless of whether they can pay." "And you help her every time?" "When I can. It's important." Adrian watched the room, families eating together, kids laughing, volunteers who'd shown up on their day off to help strangers. This was what Emma had been protecting. This was what Lily chose to be part of. And sitting here eating cheap pizza on a community center floor, Adrian felt more present than he had in his corner office in years. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said. "Sure." "Why didn't you mention you had a son?" There it was. The question he'd been waiting for. "It didn't come up," Adrian said. "We talked for 3 hours at dinner. It didn't come up once." She wasn't accusing, just observing, but the observation still stung. "I don't talk about him much," Adrian admitted. "With anyone." "Why not?" "Because talking about him means talking about how I'm failing him." The words came out before he could stop them. Raw. Honest. The kind of thing he never said out loud. Lily set down her pizza. "You brought him here. You're spending your Friday doing this instead of whatever else you'd normally do. That's not failing." "You don't know what I normally do." "You're right. I don't." She turned to face him fully. "So tell me." Adrian could have deflected, changed the subject, made a joke. Instead, he told her the truth. I work 70, 80 hours a week. I have a nanny who knows Ethan better than I do. I miss school events, bedtimes, the little moments that apparently matter. I tell myself it's because I'm building something for his future, but really I'm just avoiding being present for his present. Lily didn't respond immediately, just sat with what he'd said. My dad worked 3 jobs when I was growing up, she said finally. I barely saw him. He'd leave before I woke up, come home after I went to bed. When I did see him, he was exhausted. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was doing what he had to do. And you know what I remember most? What? The days he didn't work, the random Sundays when he'd be there for breakfast, those days felt like miracles. She looked at Ethan, still at the coloring table. That kid's going to remember today. Maybe not the details, but the feeling. That you showed up. That you brought him somewhere that mattered to you. You think this matters to me? I think you wouldn't be here if it didn't. Before Adrian could respond, Maria called everyone back. The afternoon shift was starting. The rest of the day blurred together. More families, more screenings. Ethan made friends with half the kids who came through. Adrian learned how to properly distribute toothbrushes. Lily coordinated everything with the kind of effortless organization that made it look easy, even though Adrian could see how hard she was working. By 4 o'clock, they'd seen 63 kids. Every single one walked out with resources, education, and follow-up appointments if they needed them. As families filtered out and volunteers started breaking down stations, Emma approached Adrian. Can I talk to you for a minute? She asked. Sure. They stepped outside. The threatened rain had never materialized, but the sky was still gray. Emma leaned against the brick wall, arms crossed. I need to tell you something, she said. Adrian braced himself. Here it came. The lecture, the warning, I know who you are, Emma said. The world tilted slightly. What? Adrian Cole, CEO of Cole Enterprises. Net worth somewhere north of $2 billion, depending on which magazine you read. You've been in Forbes, WSJ, Business Insider. I recognized you the second you walked into my clinic. Adrian's mouth went dry. Why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to see what you'd do. Whether you'd throw your weight around, demand special treatment, act like your money made you more important than everyone else. And you didn't. Emma pushed off the wall. You sat in my chair like a regular patient. You showed up today like a regular volunteer. You helped set up chairs and calmed down scared kids and ate pizza on the floor. I don't understand. If you knew, I knew. Lily doesn't. The air left Adrian's lungs. You haven't told her, Emma continued. It wasn't a question. No. Why not? Because, Adrian ran a hand through his hair. Because the second I tell her, everything changes. She'll see the money instead of me. The status instead of the person. That's not fair to her. I know. So when are you going to tell her? I don't know. Emma studied him for a long moment. I'm going to give you some advice you didn't ask for. Lily's been hurt before, by people who weren't honest, who wanted something from her she couldn't give. If you care about her at all, you tell her the truth, soon. And if she walks away, then she walks away. But at least she'll have made that choice with complete information. Emma didn't wait for a response, just headed back inside, leaving Adrian standing in the parking lot with the weight of everything he hadn't said. Inside, volunteers were finishing cleanup. Ethan was helping stack chairs badly, but enthusiastically. Lily was boxing up leftover supplies. Hey, she said when she saw Adrian, we're almost done. You guys sticking around or need to head out? Adrian checked his watch. 5:15. He had dinner with Marcus at 7. A work dinner that would inevitably turn into shop talk about Meridian and board expectations and strategic positioning. Actually, Adrian said, do you have plans for dinner? Lily paused mid-fold on a table. Tonight? Yeah, nothing fancy, just dinner. You, me, Ethan, if you're interested. I don't want to intrude on your time with your son. You wouldn't be intruding. I'm asking. Lily looked at Ethan, who was currently trying to carry 3 chairs at once, despite being barely tall enough to manage one. He might have other ideas, she said. Ethan, Adrian called. You want to get dinner with Lily? Ethan dropped the chairs with a clatter. Yes, can we get burgers? Burgers work for you? Adrian asked Lily. She smiled. Burgers work. They ended up at a diner 3 blocks from the community center, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and a menu that hadn't changed since 1987. Ethan ordered a burger with extra pickles. Lily got a grilled cheese. Adrian ordered coffee he definitely didn't need. So, Lily said once the waitress left, Ethan, your dad says you like dragons. Ethan's face lit up. I'm reading a whole series. There's 7 books. I'm on book 3. Sus, what happens in book 3? And just like that, Ethan was off, narrating plot points with the kind of enthusiasm only 6-year-olds can manage. Lily listened like it was the most interesting story she'd ever heard. Adrian watched them and felt something crack open in his chest. Not painfully, just opening, making room for something he'd kept locked away. Your turn, Ethan said suddenly, looking at Lily. What do you like? Me? Yeah. What's your favorite book? Lily thought about it. Pride and Prejudice. What's that about? It's about people who don't understand each other at first, but eventually figure it out. That sounds boring. Ethan, Adrian said. What? It does. Lily laughed. It kind of is, actually, but it's also about being honest with yourself and other people, which is harder than fighting dragons, in my opinion. Ethan considered this seriously. I guess that makes sense. The food arrived. They ate and talked, and for a while, Adrian let himself pretend this was normal, that he was just a guy having dinner with his son and someone he was getting to know, not a billionaire lying by omission, not someone building toward an inevitable moment of truth. Just Adrian. After dinner, Adrian drove Lily home. She lived in a neighborhood not far from the clinic. Small apartment building, older but maintained. The kind of place where rent probably took most of her paycheck. Thanks for today, Lily said as they pulled up. For helping, for dinner, for all of it. Thank you for letting us crash your volunteer event. You didn't crash, you helped. She glanced in the back seat where Ethan had fallen asleep, head resting against the window. He's a good kid. Yeah, he is. And you're better with him than you think. Adrian wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe he was capable of being the father Ethan deserved. But wanting something didn't make it true. Lily, he started, then stopped. Tell her. Just tell her. Yeah? I had a really good time today. Coward. Me too. She reached for the door handle, then paused. Can I ask you something? Are you ever going to tell me what you're hiding? Adrian's heart stopped. What? You're holding something back. I can feel it, and I get it. We barely know each other. You don't owe me your whole life story, but she turned to face him fully. If this is going somewhere, I need to know you're being honest with me, because I've done the thing where someone isn't honest. It doesn't end well. This was it. The opening, the chance to come clean. Adrian opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. You're right, he said. I am holding something back. Okay. And I will tell you, soon, I promise. I need to figure out how. Lily studied his face in the dim light from the street lamp. Whatever she saw there seemed to satisfy something. Okay, she said again. But don't wait too long. I'm not good at waiting for things I'm scared might hurt me. She got out of the car before Adrian could respond. He watched her walk into her building, watched the light come on in a second-floor window, and tried to figure out how he'd gotten here. A week ago, his biggest problem was a board pushing for an acquisition he wasn't sure about. Now he was lying to a woman he cared about, volunteering at community events, and realizing his entire life might be built on foundations that didn't actually hold weight. Ethan stirred in the back seat. Dad? Yeah, bud. Is Lily your girlfriend? I don't know. Maybe. Would that be okay? Ethan yawned. I like her. She's nice. Yeah, she is. You should probably tell her you're rich. Adrian's head whipped around. What? Mrs. Chen says you're rich, and that rich people should be honest about it because otherwise people get mad later. Mrs. Chen said that? She says a lot of things, but she's usually right. Adrian drove home in silence, his 6-year-old's wisdom ringing in his ears. Even Ethan knew he was screwing this up. The question was whether Adrian would fix it before it all fell apart. Monday morning, Adrian canceled the dinner with Marcus and didn't reschedule. Tuesday, he left the office at 5. Not because there wasn't work to do, there was always work to do, but because he'd promised Ethan they'd have dinner together, just the two of them. They ordered Chinese takeout and ate it straight from the containers while Ethan told him about a kid at school who'd brought a lizard for show and tell. "Can I get a lizard?" Ethan asked, shoving lo mein into his mouth. "Absolutely not." "Why?" "Because you're 6, and I barely trust you to remember to brush your teeth." "I brush my teeth. Only when Mrs. Chen reminds you." Ethan grinned, orange sauce on his chin. "She reminds me a lot." They cleaned up together after. Well, Adrian cleaned while Ethan helped by putting exactly 3 things in the dishwasher before getting distracted by a toy he'd forgotten about. At bedtime, Adrian read him 2 chapters of the Dragon Book. Ethan fell asleep before the second one finished, mouth slightly open, one hand still clutching the covers. Adrian sat there for a while, just watching his son sleep, trying to memorize this moment, the quiet breathing, the mess of dark hair, the feeling of actually being present instead of thinking about the next meeting, the next deal, the next thing pulling his attention away. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "How was your day?" Adrian smiled and typed back, "Better than usual." "Yours?" "Long." Lot of angry patients. Everyone hates dental insurance. Everyone hates insurance, period. Fair point. What made yours better? Adrian looked at Ethan, then typed, "Spent time with my kid." Actually spent time, not just existed in the same space. That's good. Really good. They texted back and forth for another 20 minutes. Nothing deep. Just the small pieces of their days, but it felt easy, natural, like talking to someone who actually wanted to know. Wednesday, the Meridian deal came to a head. Adrian sat in the conference room with the full board. Grayson had prepared an even more elaborate presentation. Marcus looked tense. The external investors they'd brought in for consultation wore expressions that said they were ready to make a killing. "So," Grayson said, wrapping up his pitch, "the question is simple. Do we move forward or do we let this opportunity pass us by?" All eyes turned to Adrian. He thought about the numbers, the projections, the clean, logical case for acquisition. Then he thought about 1,800 people, families, kids who'd lose stable housing because market rate units meant more profit. He thought about Lily working multiple jobs just to keep rent paid, about the community center held together by volunteers and donated pizza, about Sophia, scared of the dentist until someone took the time to make her feel safe. "We pass," Adrian said. The room went silent. "I'm sorry?" Grayson said. "We pass on Meridian. The deal's off the table." "Adrian," Marcus started, "I've made my decision. We're not displacing 1,800 people for a profit margin. I don't care how good the numbers look." One of the external investors, Reynolds, a man who'd built his fortune on exactly these kinds of deals, leaned forward. "With all due respect, Mr. Cole, this is a business. Sentiment doesn't pay dividends." "No," Adrian agreed, "but it doesn't cost us our humanity either. Humanity doesn't appear on a balance sheet." "Maybe it should." Reynolds sat back, exchanging glances with his colleagues. Grayson looked like he wanted to throw his laptop through the window. Marcus rubbed his temples. "Adrian," Marcus said carefully, "can we have a word? Privately?" They stepped into the hallway. Marcus waited until the door closed. "What the hell are you doing?" "Making a choice. You're killing $1 billion deal over hypothetical social impact. It's not hypothetical to the people living in those buildings. You don't even know those people. That doesn't make them less real." Marcus stared at him. "This is about that woman, isn't it? The one you've been sneaking off to see." "I'm not sneaking." "You disappeared to a dental clinic in Riverside. You spent Friday at a community center instead of the strategy session you were supposed to lead. You're leaving the office at normal human hours, so yes, Adrian, you're sneaking." Adrian couldn't deny it, didn't want to deny it. "Her name is Lily," he said. "And yeah, maybe she's part of this. Maybe meeting her made me realize we've been making decisions in a vacuum, pushing numbers around like they don't represent actual lives. That's business, Adrian. That's what we do. Maybe it shouldn't be. Marcus's expression shifted. Less anger, more concern. Are you having some kind of breakdown? He asked quietly. No, I'm having a breakthrough. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, you're torching relationships with investors, confusing the board, and making decisions based on feelings instead of data. The data says we make money. It doesn't say we should. Since when do you care about should? Good question. Since when did Adrian Cole, who'd built an empire on ruthless efficiency and strategic detachment, care about should versus could? Since he'd sat across from a woman at the wrong table and realized he'd been living wrong for years. I need you to trust me, Adrian said. I do trust you. That's why this is terrifying, because you're not acting like yourself. Maybe that's the point. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, seemed to wrestle with something. Fine, he said finally. We'll pass on Meridian, but the board's going to want an explanation, a real one, not just Adrian's having an existential crisis. Tell them we're shifting focus, looking for deals that create value without destroying communities in the process. That's going to cost us opportunities. Probably, but it might gain us something else. Like what? Like the ability to look ourselves in the mirror. Marcus shook his head, but there was something almost like admiration in his expression. You've changed, he said. Yeah, I'm starting to notice that too. They went back into the conference room. Adrian announced the decision was final. Grayson looked ready to quit on the spot. The external investors thanked them curtly and left. When the room cleared, Adrian sat alone at the conference table, staring at the projection still displayed on the screen. $1 billion. He'd just walked away from $1 billion because it felt wrong. His father would have called him an idiot. The board probably thought the same thing. But sitting there, looking at numbers that represented lives he'd been willing to upend for profit, Adrian felt something he hadn't felt in years. Relief. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma, of all people. Heard you torpedoed a major deal today. Lily mentioned your company name. I looked you up. So much for secrets. How much does she know? Adrian typed back. Nothing from me. But she will soon. Someone's going to recognize you, or Google you, or see you in a magazine. Better it comes from you than the internet. I know. Then what are you waiting for? Adrian didn't have a good answer for that. Thursday evening, Lily called. Hey, she said. You busy? Never too busy for you. Liar. But I appreciate it. He could hear the smile in her voice. I have a weird question. Okay? Emma's out of town this weekend for a conference, and I'm supposed to water her plants. But I'm also covering an extra shift at the clinic on Saturday, and I'm worried her orchid's going to die because apparently they're very particular. Do you need me to water an orchid? Would you? I know it's ridiculous. I'll water the orchid. Where does Emma live? Lily gave him the address. A neighborhood Adrian knew vaguely. Middle class, decent, the kind of place where people actually knew their neighbors. You're a lifesaver, Lily said. I'll leave the key under the mat. Very original hiding spot, I know. What time works? Anytime Saturday afternoon? I'm at the clinic until 3. I'll swing by around 2. Thank you. Really? I owe you. I'll add it to your tab. My tab's getting pretty long. Good. Means I get to keep seeing you. Lily laughed. Smooth. How's Ethan? Good. Currently negotiating for a lizard. How's that going? He's losing, but he doesn't know it yet. Poor kid. They talked for another hour. About nothing. About everything. Adrian paced his apartment while they spoke, looking out at the city lights and feeling less like he was above it all and more like he was finally part of something real. When they finally hung up, it was past 11. Adrian had work emails waiting, documents to review, the usual mountain of obligations. He ignored all of it and went to bed. Saturday afternoon, Adrian drove to Emma's apartment with Ethan in tow. He'd considered leaving his son with Mrs. Chen, but Ethan had asked to come, and Adrian was trying to say yes more often. Emma's building was a converted brownstone. Neat, modest, the kind of place that had character instead of amenities. The key was exactly where Lily said it would be. Inside was surprisingly sparse, functional furniture, books on nearly every surface, a few photos on the wall, Emma with friends, Emma at what looked like a graduation, Emma and Lily at some kind of event, both of them laughing. The orchid sat on a windowsill in the living room. It looked fine to Adrian, but what did he know about orchids? He watered it according to the detailed instructions Lily had texted him. Ethan explored the apartment with the curiosity of someone who'd never seen how normal people lived. "Why doesn't she have a TV?" Ethan asked. "Maybe she doesn't watch TV." "Everyone watches TV." "Not everyone." "That's weird." Adrian was about to respond when he noticed the stack of mail on the kitchen counter. Just normal stuff. Bills, catalogs, a postcard from someone's vacation, and underneath it all, partially visible, a medical journal with Emma's name on the label. Dr. Emma Clark, DDS. Adrian knew he shouldn't look, knew it was an invasion of privacy, but something made him pull the journal out. It wasn't just a subscription, it was a contributor copy. Emma had written an article about accessible dental care in underserved communities. The byline listed her credentials, not just a dentist, but someone who'd done research, published findings, built an entire practice around helping people who couldn't afford traditional care. This wasn't just a job for her. This was a calling, and she'd been protecting Lily from him. Not because she was overprotective, but because she'd seen enough people get hurt by inequality to know how easily power imbalances destroyed good things. "Dad?" Ethan called from the other room. "Can I touch this plant?" "No." "Why not?" "Because it's not ours." Adrian put the journal back exactly where he'd found it, finished watering the orchid, made sure everything was locked up tight when they left. In the car, Ethan said, "Emma's apartment is smaller than ours." "Yeah, a lot smaller." "Yeah. But it's nice, feels like someone actually lives there." Adrian glanced in the rearview mirror. "What does our place feel like?" Ethan thought about it. Like a hotel, but fancier. Out of the mouths of children. They grabbed early dinner at a burger place Ethan loved, sat in a booth with cracked red vinyl, and ordered food that definitely wasn't on Mrs. Chen's approved nutrition list. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said, stealing a fry from Adrian's plate, even though he had his own. "Sure." "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" The question caught Adrian off guard. "Where's this coming from?" "Kids at school have moms and dads, or two moms, or two dads. I just have you and Mrs. Chen, and Mrs. Chen's not really family. She takes care of you." "I know. But it's her job. That's different." Adrian couldn't argue with that logic. "I guess I've been focused on work," he said carefully. "Didn't think I had time for a girlfriend." "But you have time for Lily." "I'm making time for Lily. There's a difference." "Do you like her?" "Yeah, I do." "Does she like you?" "I think so. I hope so." Ethan nodded seriously, processing this information with the gravity only a 6-year-old could bring to matters of the heart. "You should tell her about the penthouse," he said finally. "Why?" "Because it's cool. And if she likes you, she won't care that it's too big. She'll just think it's cool." "What if she does care?" "Then she's not the right person." Adrian stared at his son. When had Ethan gotten so wise? "When did you figure all this out?" he asked. Ethan shrugged. "I don't know. I just think if someone likes you, they like all of you. Not just the parts you show them." Mrs. Chen had clearly been having some serious conversations with his son. They finished dinner and drove home. Ethan fell asleep in the car again, apparently a new habit, and Adrian carried him upstairs, marveling at how heavy 6 years old was getting. After putting Ethan to bed, Adrian sat in his office and did something he hadn't done in weeks. He Googled himself. Pages and pages of results, business articles, profile pieces, photos from charity galas and corporate events, his net worth estimated by 3 different publications, none of them accurate, but all in the same ballpark. This was what Lily would find if she looked him up. This was the person she'd discover he'd been hiding, not just wealthy, not just successful, but someone who'd built an entire identity around power and control and staying separate from the mess of normal human connection. Someone who'd lied to her from the first moment they met. His phone rang. "Marcus." "You sitting down?" Marcus asked. "Should I be?" "Grayson quit, sent a resignation email an hour ago. Says he can't work for a company that's lost its competitive edge." Adrian should have felt something. Concern, maybe. Or regret. Instead, he felt nothing. "Okay," he said. "Okay? That's it?" Our VP of acquisitions just walked out and you're saying, okay? What do you want me to say? That I'll beg him to come back? That I'll reverse the Meridian decision? I want you to act like you care that the company's falling apart. The company's not falling apart. One person left. We'll hire someone else. Someone who shares our new direction. What new direction? You haven't articulated a new direction. You've just said no to things without saying yes to anything. Marcus was right. Adrian had been operating on instinct, making decisions based on how they felt rather than what they meant. It was time to actually figure out what came next. Set up a meeting, Adrian said. Monday morning, full leadership team. We're going to talk about what this company actually stands for. Adrian, I'm serious, Marcus. We've spent 15 years chasing profit. Maybe it's time we chase purpose instead. Purpose doesn't pay salaries. No, but it might make those salaries mean something. Marcus sighed. You're really doing this. Yeah, I really am. After hanging up, Adrian opened a new document on his computer, started typing out ideas, values, principles, the kind of mission statement that actually meant something instead of corporate jargon designed to sound good in shareholder meetings. He worked until past midnight, until he had something that felt true, that felt like it actually mattered. Then he sent it to Marcus with a note. This is what I'm proposing. If you're with me, great. If not, I understand. Sunday morning, Adrian woke up to 3 texts. One from Marcus. You're insane, but I'm in. One from Lily. Thank you for watering the orchid. Emma says it's still alive, which is a miracle. Coffee this week? And one from an unknown number. This is Emma. We need to talk. Call me. Adrian stared at Emma's message for a long time. Then he called. She picked up on the first ring. I'm giving you 24 hours, Emma said without preamble. For what? To tell Lily the truth, all of it. Who you are, what you do, why you lied. Emma, I'm serious. 24 hours. If you don't tell her, I will. That's not fair. You're right, it's not. Know what else isn't fair? Letting someone develop feelings for you when you've been lying to them from day one. Adrian couldn't argue with that. I'm going to tell her, he said. I was planning to. When? Next week? Next month? When it becomes impossible to avoid? Soon. Soon isn't good enough. Lily deserves better than soon. Emma's voice softened slightly. Look, I know you care about her, I can see it. But caring about someone means being honest with them, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. What if she doesn't want to see me anymore? Then that's her choice. But at least it'll be an informed choice. Emma hung up. Adrian sat on his couch, phone in hand, and tried to figure out how to tell someone the truth when the truth meant admitting you'd been lying all along. His phone buzzed. Lily's response to the coffee invitation. How about today? I'm free this afternoon. There's a place near me with good espresso and terrible muffins. Very authentic. This was it. The moment. Adrian typed, sounds perfect. 2 o'clock? See you then. He had 6 hours to figure out how to tell the woman he was falling for that he'd been lying to her since the moment they met. 6 hours to either salvage something real or watch it fall apart. At 1:30, Adrian stood in front of his closet again. This time, he didn't agonize. Just grabbed jeans and a sweater. Normal. Honest. Except nothing about this was honest yet. Ethan was at a birthday party with Mrs. Chen. The apartment was empty. Quiet. Adrian drove to the coffee shop Lily had mentioned, found parking 3 blocks away, walked slowly, rehearsing what he'd say. I need to tell you something. I haven't been completely honest. Remember when we met? I wasn't actually your blind date. My name is Adrian Cole, and I'm a billionaire, and I've been lying to you, and I'm sorry. None of it sounded right. The coffee shop was small, mismatched chairs, art on the walls that looked student-made, the kind of place that probably barely turned a profit but somehow stayed in business through sheer force of community will. Lily was already there, sitting at a table by the window. She waved when she saw him. Adrian's heart was beating too fast. He ordered coffee at the counter, overpaid, left a 20 for a $5 drink, and joined her. Hey, Lily said. You okay? You look stressed. I'm fine. Just, I need to talk to you about something. Her expression shifted, guarded now, preparing for bad news. Okay,
she said carefully. Adrian took a breath. The night we met, he started, at the restaurant, I wasn't... His phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. Sorry, he muttered, pulling it out to silence it. Marcus's name on the screen and a text preview. Emergency. Ethan's school called. He's sick. Mrs. Chen can't reach you. Adrian's blood went cold. I'm sorry, he said to Lily. I have to... My son. Go, Lily said immediately. Is he okay? I don't know. I need to call back. He was already standing, already dialing. Marcus picked up instantly. Where are you? Marcus asked. What happened? Ethan's school called my office when they couldn't reach you. He fell off some playground equipment. They think he might have broken his arm. They're taking him to County General. Adrian was already moving toward the door. I'm on my way. He looked back at Lily. She was standing now too. Go, she said again. We can talk later. Your son needs you. Adrian wanted to explain, wanted to finish what he'd started, but Ethan was hurt and nothing else mattered. He ran to his car, drove to the hospital faster than he should have, found parking in a spot marked for ambulances and didn't care. Inside the ER, chaos. He found the registration desk, gave his name, was directed to a curtained area in the back. And there was Ethan sitting on a bed with his arm at an odd angle, trying very hard not to cry. Mrs. Chen stood beside him, looking shaken. Dad, Ethan said, and the relief in his voice broke something in Adrian's chest. Hey, buddy. I'm here. You're okay. My arm hurts. I know. The doctors are going to fix it. A doctor appeared, young, competent-looking, already reading Ethan's chart. Mr. Cole, I'm Dr. Sanders. We're going to get your son into X-ray. Make sure we know exactly what we're dealing with. It looks like a clean break, which is actually good news. Kids heal fast. Adrian nodded, barely processing. All he could see was his son's pale face, the way he was holding his arm, the trust in his eyes when he looked at Adrian. This was what mattered. This moment. This person. Everything else was just noise. They took Ethan for X-rays. Adrian followed, watched through a window while they positioned his son carefully, talking to him gently, making it less scary. When they came back out, Dr. Sanders confirmed, clean break, needs a cast, 6 weeks of healing. You'll be good as new, the doctor told Ethan. And you get to pick the color of your cast. Can I get blue? Absolutely. While they worked on Ethan's cast, Adrian's phone buzzed. Multiple texts from Lily. Is he okay? Let me know if you need anything. I'm thinking about you both. Adrian typed back. Broken arm. He'll be fine. I'm sorry about earlier. Don't be sorry. Family comes first, always. She understood. Of course she understood. But Adrian still hadn't told her the truth. And now, sitting in an emergency room while his son got a bright blue cast, Adrian realized something. The truth wasn't just about honesty. It was about priorities, about what you protected and what you risked and what you built your life around. He'd been protecting the wrong things. And if he wanted to build something real, with Lily, with Ethan, with a life that actually meant something, he needed to stop hiding behind half-truths and carefully managed images. He needed to be honest, completely, even if it cost him everything, especially if it cost him everything, because that was the only way to find out if what he had was real. They kept Ethan at the hospital for observation. Just a precaution, Dr. Sanders said. But Adrian wasn't taking chances. He sent Mrs. Chen home around 8 with promises to call if anything changed. Ethan fell asleep around 9, exhausted from pain medication and the adrenaline crash. Adrian sat in the chair beside the bed, watching the rise and fall of his son's chest, and tried to remember the last time he'd spent an entire evening doing nothing but being present. He couldn't. Around 10, there was a soft knock on the door. Adrian looked up, expecting a nurse. It was Lily. She stood in the doorway holding a paper bag and 2 cups of coffee, looking uncertain. I hope this is okay, she said quietly. I called the hospital and they said he was stable, and I thought you might need, I don't know, coffee, food, company. Adrian stood. You didn't have to come. I know, but I wanted to. She glanced at Ethan. How is he? He'll be fine. Kids bounce back, apparently. They do. Lily handed him one of the coffees. This is probably terrible hospital coffee, but it's hot and caffeinated.
It's perfect. They stood there for a moment, the beeping of monitors filling the silence. Can we talk? Adrian asked. There's a waiting room down the hall. Lily nodded. They settled into uncomfortable plastic chairs under fluorescent lights that made everything look washed out and tired. The waiting room was empty except for them. Adrian held the coffee cup but didn't drink, just needed something to do with his hands. I need to tell you something, he started, and I should have told you weeks ago. Lily's expression shifted, preparing herself. Okay. The night we met, at the restaurant, I wasn't your blind date. She blinked. What? I had a business meeting. Wrong table. When you asked if I was your date, I should have said no, should have explained the mistake. But I didn't. I lied. Lily set down her coffee. Why? Honestly, I don't know. In that moment, you looked at me like I was just a person, not a name or a status or something to use, and I didn't want that to change. I don't understand. Adrian took a breath. This was it. My full name is Adrian Cole. I'm the CEO of Cole Enterprises. We do investment acquisitions, property development, venture capital. My company's worth about $3 billion. I'm personally worth more than that. The words landed like stones in water. Lily's face went through several expressions: confusion, realization, hurt. Shh. She stopped. Started again. You're a billionaire. Yes. And you didn't think to mention that? I tried. Multiple times. I didn't know how. Lily stood up, sat back down, stood up again. Emma knew, she said suddenly. She recognized me at the clinic, and she didn't say anything. I asked her not to, told her I'd tell you myself. When were you planning to tell me? Today, at the coffee shop, before the hospital called. Lily laughed, but there was no humor in it. So what? You were slumming it? Wanted to see how the poor people live? No, it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you lied to me for weeks. Let me believe you were someone you're not. I never lied about who I am, just what I have. That's the same thing to people like me, Adrian. Money changes everything. It changes how people see you, how they treat you, whether they're being honest or just saying what you want to hear. I know. That's exactly why I didn't tell you. So you thought lying was better? I thought if you knew, you'd treat me differently. You'd see the money instead of me. Lily wrapped her arms around herself. You didn't give me the chance to decide that for myself. She was right. Adrian knew she was right. I'm sorry, he said. You're right. I should have told you immediately. The fact that I didn't says more about my issues than anything else. What issues? Trust, control. Spending my entire adult life building walls so high, I forgot what it felt like to let someone in. Lily looked at him for a long moment. Is any of it real? The dinners? The volunteering? Ethan? All of it. Everything with you has been the most real thing in my life in years. How am I supposed to believe that when you've been lying from the start? Adrian didn't have a good answer. Just the truth. Messy and insufficient as it was. You're not, he said. I can't make you believe me. I can just tell you that meeting you changed something, made me realize my entire life was built around avoiding exactly this kind of conversation, this kind of vulnerability. And now? Now I'm sitting in a hospital waiting room telling you things I've never told anyone, hoping you'll give me a chance to prove I'm not just the money or the company or the penthouse, that I'm someone worth knowing even when you strip all that away. Lily closed her eyes, took a breath. I need to think, she said finally. Okay. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying yes. I'm just saying I need time to process this. Take all the time you need. She stood, picked up her coffee, started toward the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, she said without turning around, I don't care about the money. I care that you didn't trust me enough to tell me. I know. Do you? Because it seems like you thought I'd treat you differently. Like I'm so desperate or shallow that a bank account would change how I see you. That's not what I thought. Then what did you think? Adrian stood too, faced her even though she wasn't looking at him. I thought you were the first person in years who saw me as just Adrian, and I was terrified of losing that. Lily finally turned. Her eyes were wet, but she wasn't crying.
You lost it the second you decided to lie, she said quietly. Then she left. Adrian stood in the empty waiting room and felt the full weight of his choices settle onto his shoulders. He'd been right to be terrified. He just hadn't realized the thing he was afraid of losing was already gone the moment he'd decided to hide. The next morning, Ethan was discharged with a bright blue cast, a prescription for pain medication, and strict instructions about playground equipment. No climbing for 6 weeks, Dr. Sanders told him. I know that's boring, but your arm needs time to heal. Can I still play video games? With one hand? Sure. You'll just have to get creative. In the car, Ethan said, Was that Lily last night? Adrian glanced in the rearview mirror. Yeah, she brought coffee. Did you tell her about being rich? I did. What did she say? She said she needed time to think about it. Ethan nodded seriously. That's bad, right? Probably. Are you sad? Yeah, bud. I'm sad. Did you say sorry? I did. Sometimes sorry isn't enough. You have to show people you mean it. Adrian pulled into their building's parking garage. When did you get so smart about this stuff? I watch a lot of cartoons. They teach you things. Despite everything, Adrian smiled. Inside the penthouse, Mrs. Chen was waiting with breakfast in concern. She fussed over Ethan's cast, asked 15 questions about the hospital, and shot Adrian looks that said they'd be having a conversation later. After getting Ethan settled with cartoons and cereal, Adrian retreated to his office. His email was a disaster. Dozens of messages from board members, investors, department heads. Everyone wanted to know what was happening with the company, what the new direction meant, whether Adrian had completely lost his mind. He ignored all of it and opened a new document. 2 hours later, he had something that felt true. A complete restructuring of how coal enterprises operated. Not just platitudes about social responsibility, but concrete changes. New hiring practices, community investment requirements, profit-sharing models, environmental standards, a complete overhaul of what the company valued and why. It would cost them opportunities, probably cost them money in the short term, but it might build something that actually mattered. He sent it to Marcus with a note. This is what I'm proposing. Full implementation, no half measures. Marcus called immediately. You're serious about this? Completely. This is going to piss off half the board. Probably. And you're okay with that? I'm done making decisions based on who they'll piss off. I'm making them based on what's right. Marcus was quiet for a moment. You know what? Fuck it. I'm in. Let's burn it all down and build something better. Really? Really? I've been doing this job for 15 years and I can't remember the last time I felt good about a decision we made. Maybe it's time to try something different. They spent the next hour on the phone, refining the plan, making it workable. Building something that could actually function in the real world. When they hung up, Adrian felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Not certainty, not confidence that everything would work out. Just hope that maybe, possibly, he could build a life that didn't require him to hide who he was. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Lily told me what happened. You did the right thing, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Adrian typed back, Did I? Because it feels like I destroyed something good. You destroyed something built on a lie. That's different than destroying something good. What if she doesn't forgive me? Then you learn from it and do better next time. That's how growth works. Adrian wanted to argue. Wanted to say there wouldn't be a next time because Lily was singular, irreplaceable. But Emma was right. If Lily decided she couldn't trust him, that was his consequence to carry. The lesson to learn. The price of hiding. That evening, after putting Ethan to bed, another 2 chapters of Dragons, another promise that yes, the cast would come off eventually, Adrian stood at his window looking at the city. Somewhere out there, Lily was living her life. Going to work. Coming home to her small apartment. Probably talking to Emma about what an idiot Adrian was. She wasn't wrong. He'd had every opportunity to be honest. Had chosen comfort over truth. Control over vulnerability. And now he got to live with that choice. His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Adrian Cole? A woman's voice. Professional. Unfamiliar. Yes? This is Jennifer Martinez from the Community Development Alliance.
I'm calling about a proposal that was forwarded to us regarding affordable housing preservation. Someone said you might be interested in discussing alternative acquisition strategies? Adrian frowned. I'm sorry, I don't... The Meridian Properties development? We heard you passed on a traditional acquisition. We're wondering if you'd be interested in a different approach, one that keeps the housing affordable while still creating value for your company. It took Adrian a moment to process. Who forwarded this to you? Dr. Emma Clark. She said you might be open to creative solutions. Emma. Of course, Emma. I'm listening, Adrian said. Jennifer explained the framework, a public-private partnership. Cole Enterprises would acquire Meridian, but instead of converting to market rate, they'd maintain affordability through a combination of tax incentives, subsidies, and a long-term community trust model. It would take longer to see returns. The profit margin would be smaller, but the housing would stay affordable. The families would stay housed, and Cole Enterprises would be doing something that actually mattered. This could work, Adrian said slowly. It could, but it requires a company willing to prioritize long-term community benefit over short-term profit. Dr. Clark seemed to think you might fit that description. When can we meet? How's Wednesday? Wednesday's perfect. They set a time. Adrian hung up feeling something he hadn't felt about a business deal in years. Excited, not about the money. About the possibility of doing something right. Tuesday morning, Adrian got a text from Lily. Can we talk? In person? His heart jumped into his throat. When? Tonight? After work? I could come to you, or you could come here, or we could meet somewhere neutral. Come here. I want you to see it. See what? Everything I didn't tell you about. A long pause. Then, okay. 7? I'll be here. Adrian spent the rest of the day nervous, told Mrs. Chen he needed the evening free, ordered dinner from a restaurant that Lily had mentioned liking, cleaned the already clean penthouse until even he realized he was just creating busy work. At 6:30, he sat Ethan down. Lily's coming over. I know, I heard you tell Mrs. Chen. I need to talk to her. Adult stuff. You okay hanging out in your room for a bit? Is she still mad at you? I don't know. Are you going to fix it? I'm going to try. Ethan nodded. Okay, I'll be quiet. You don't have to be quiet, just give us some space. I can do that. At 7 sharp, the doorman called up. Lily was in the lobby. Send her up, Adrian said. He stood by the door. Heard the elevator, counted the seconds. Then there was a knock. Adrian opened the door. Lily stood there in her work clothes, the same navy dress she'd worn the first night, looking tired and uncertain. Hi, she said. Hi, come in. She stepped inside and stopped. The penthouse was everything Adrian had tried to hide. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. Modern furniture that cost more than most people's cars. Art on the walls that was definitely original. A space so large and carefully designed it barely looked lived in, except for Ethan's dragon book on the coffee table, and a blue crayon on the counter, and shoes by the door that were very clearly a child's. So this is where you live, Lily said quietly. Yeah. She walked to the windows, looked out at the view that Adrian had bought specifically for moments like this, the power of height, of being above it all. It's beautiful, she said. It's too big. It's really too big. My son said it feels like a hotel. Lily turned to face him. He's not wrong. Adrian gestured to the couch. Do you want to sit? Not yet. I want to say something first. Okay. I spent the last 2 days being angry, at you mostly, but also at myself for not seeing it, for not questioning why someone would show up alone to a fancy restaurant and not bat an eye at the prices, or drive a Tesla to a community center, or pay cash for a dental visit. Lily, let me finish. She took a breath. I was angry because I felt stupid, like I should have known, like I was this naive person who couldn't see what was right in front of her. You're not naive. I know that now. I was just choosing to see the person instead of the circumstances, which is what you said you wanted, right? For someone to see you as just Adrian? Yes? Well, I did. I saw a guy who showed up at the wrong table and stayed anyway, who asked real questions and gave real answers, who brought his son to volunteer and read instructions on how to water an orchid and looked genuinely lost in a community center.
Adrian didn't know what to say. That person was real, Lily continued. The money doesn't change that. The penthouse doesn't change that. What changes it is that you didn't trust me with the truth. I know, and I'm sorry. Not just sorry I got caught. Sorry that I made you feel like I didn't think you could handle knowing. Why didn't you think I could handle it? Because everyone handles it. Everyone changes. They start seeing opportunities instead of a person. Start calculating what they can get. And I didn't want you to do that. So you didn't give me the choice. No, I didn't. Lily sat down finally, on the expensive couch that probably cost what she made in 6 months. I can't promise you I won't treat you differently now, she said, because knowing this changes things, not because of the money itself, but because of what it represents. The gap between our lives. The fact that you can fix problems with a phone call while I struggle to pay rent. That's not small, Adrian. I know. But I also can't pretend that the last few weeks didn't happen, that I didn't like who I was getting to know, that there wasn't something real building. Hope flickered in Adrian's chest. So what does that mean? He asked. It means I'm willing to try. Actually try. With full honesty, no more hiding from either of us. Either of us. I haven't been completely honest either. I let you believe my life was harder than it is because it was easier than admitting I've been stuck. That I've made choices that kept me safe but small. That I use my circumstances as an excuse not to want more. Adrian sat beside her, not too close, giving her space. What do you want more of? He asked. I don't know yet. That's the scary part. But seeing you change your whole life because you realized something wasn't working, that made me think maybe I could change too. They sat in silence for a moment, just breathing, just being. I talked to Emma, Lily said finally. She told me about the housing project, the partnership with the community group. You know about that? She's the one who set it up, called in favors, made connections. Emma doesn't do things halfway. She's terrifying. She's protective. Lily smiled slightly. She also said you're probably going to lose money on it. Probably. And you're doing it anyway? Yeah. Why? Adrian thought about all the reasons. The practical ones about long-term value and community goodwill. The strategic ones about building a different kind of company. But the truth was simpler. Because 1,800 people deserve to stay in their homes, he said, and because for the first time in my career, making less money feels like making the right choice. Lily reached over and took his hand. Her hand was warm, small in his, real. I want to try this, she said, but I need you to be honest with me about everything, your work, your life, your son, the good parts and the messy parts and the parts you think might make me run. I can do that. Can you? Because honesty is scary, especially when you've spent years hiding. I know, but I'm tired of hiding. What changed? Adrian looked at her, really looked, at the woman who'd asked a simple question in a restaurant and somehow started unraveling everything Adrian thought he knew about his life. You did, he said. Meeting you made me realize I've been living in a way that protected me from everything, including the things that make life worth living. Lily squeezed his hand. That's very smooth. It's also true. I know, that's what makes it smooth. They both smiled. From down the hall, there was a crash, then Ethan's voice. I'm okay. The dinosaur fell. Lily laughed. Should we check on him? Probably. They found Ethan in his room, surrounded by toys and trying to pick up a large plastic dinosaur with one arm. Need help, bud? Adrian asked. I got it. Oh, hi, Lily. Hi, Ethan. Cool cast. Thanks. I can't do stuff with it, but it's blue, so that's good. Blue is the best color for casts. That's what I said. Lily knelt down and helped him reorganize the toys. Adrian watched them together, his son explaining the intricate rules of his dinosaur game, Lily listening like it mattered, and felt something settle in his chest. This was what mattered, not the penthouse or the company or the carefully constructed image, just this. Real moments with real people who saw him completely. After getting Ethan back to bed, with promises that yes, Lily would come visit again, they returned to the living room. The food Adrian had ordered was getting cold. They ate anyway, sitting on the floor because Lily said the couch was too formal. I have a meeting tomorrow, Adrian said between bites.
About the housing project. Would you want to come? To a business meeting? To see what it actually looks like, what I'm trying to build. Lily considered this. I work until 3. Meetings at 4. I can pick you up. In the Tesla. I could get a different car. I'm kidding. The Tesla's fine, just weird. Everything about this is weird.
Yeah, but maybe that's okay. They finished eating, cleaned up together, stood by the windows looking at the city lights. So, I should go, Lily said finally. Early shift tomorrow. I'll walk you down. In the elevator, Lily said, This is really happening, isn't it? What? This. Us. Whatever we're calling it. Do we need to call it something? Eventually, but not tonight. They reached the lobby. The doorman pretended not to notice them. Outside, Lily's bus was just pulling up. Convenient timing, she said. Lucky. She stepped closer, rose on her toes, kissed his cheek. Thank you for being honest, she said. Thank you for giving me another chance. Don't make me regret it. I won't, she smiled. Liar. You probably will at some point. People do. But as long as you're honest about it, I can deal. She got on the bus. Adrian watched it pull away, just like the first night. But this time, she knew who he was, and she'd chosen to stay anyway. The meeting with the Community Development Alliance went better than Adrian expected. Lily sat beside him, asking smart questions about implementation and timelines. Emma showed up halfway through with coffee and moral support. Marcus presented the financial model with genuine enthusiasm instead of corporate detachment. By the end, they had a framework. Not perfect, not guaranteed, but possible. A way to make money while protecting people. To build value without destroying communities. It would take work, compromise, patience. But it could happen. After everyone left, Adrian, Lily, Emma, and Marcus stood in the conference room looking at the whiteboard covered in notes and diagrams. This is insane, Marcus said. Completely, Emma agreed. Are we really doing this? Lily asked. Adrian looked at the three of them. His business partner. The woman who'd protected Lily from him. The woman who'd changed everything just by asking a question. Yeah, he said. We're really doing this. 3 months later, the Meridian deal closed. Not as a traditional acquisition. As a partnership. Cole Enterprises owned the properties, but the community trust managed them. Tenants stayed housed. Rents stayed affordable. The company took a smaller profit margin, but gained something more valuable. A reputation for giving a damn. The board was split. Half thought Adrian had lost his mind. The other half saw the long-term play. The PR value. The employee morale boost. The way talent flocked to a company that actually stood for something. Grayson's replacement was a woman named Sarah Chen, who'd spent 10 years in nonprofit development before moving to private sector. She understood profit, but she also understood purpose. The company started shifting, slowly, not perfectly, but shifting. Adrian cut his hours to 60 a week, then 50. Started having dinner with Ethan 5 nights instead of 2. Showed up to school events, learned the names of his son's teachers. Lily kept her job at the clinic, said she needed something that was hers, something that wasn't connected to Adrian or money or expectations. He understood that. They saw each other 3-4 times a week, sometimes with Ethan. Sometimes just the two of them, building something real brick by brick. It wasn't always smooth. They fought about money, how much was too much to spend, whether Adrian buying dinner always created imbalance, what it meant that he could solve problems she couldn't. They fought about time, her work schedule versus his, who compromised more, whether his flexibility was privilege or effort. They fought about the future, what it looked like, whether they wanted the same things, if the gap between their worlds could actually close. But they fought honestly, and they came back together, and they kept building. Emma became an unlikely friend. She and Adrian had coffee once a month where she grilled him about his intentions, and he pretended to be annoyed while actually being grateful someone cared that much about Lily's well-being. 6 months after that first dinner, Adrian took Lily and Ethan to the community center, another volunteer event, this time for a weekend literacy program. They read to kids, helped organize books, set up activity stations. Ethan taught a little boy how to sound out difficult words.
Lily coordinated parent volunteers with the same quiet competence she brought to everything. Adrian moved chairs and didn't think once about the opportunity cost of his time. At the end of the day, Maria Santos pulled him aside. "You're different than you were," she said. "Yeah?" "Yeah. First time you came here, you looked like someone doing community service for a tax write-off. Now you look like someone who actually cares." "I do care. I can tell. So can they." She nodded toward the families packing up. That matters more than money ever could. Driving home, Ethan asleep in the back seat again, Lily said, "You look happy." "I am happy." "Really happy or just content?" "Really happy." "Why?" "Because I am too, and it's weird." "Why is it weird?" "Because I spent so long thinking happiness was something that happened to other people. People with more money or better circumstances or easier lives. Turns out it's just this. Choosing to show up, choosing honesty, choosing people who make you want to be better." Adrian reached over and took her hand. "I love you," he said. It was the first time he'd said it. Lily didn't respond right away, just held his hand tighter. "I know," she said finally. "I love you too. Even though you're ridiculously rich and drive a stupid car and live in a penthouse that could fit my entire apartment building. Even though? Because of. In spite of. I don't know, just love. The messy, complicated, scary kind. That's the only kind that matters." A year after walking up to the wrong table, Adrian stood in that same restaurant. Different table this time. The right one. Lily sat across from him, wearing a dress that wasn't navy blue. Emma and Marcus were at a nearby table, pretending they weren't watching. Ethan was with Mrs. Chen under strict instructions not to call unless it was an actual emergency. "Why are we here?" Lily asked. "Anniversary." "Of what?" "Of me making the best mistake of my life." Lily smiled. "That's cheesy." "I know, but it's true." "What if I hadn't been sitting at that table? Then I would have had a boring business dinner and kept living the same hollow life I'd been living for years." "You don't know that." "Yeah, I do. Because meeting you didn't just change what I was doing, it changed why. Made me realize I'd been optimizing for all the wrong things." The waiter appeared. They ordered. The same things they'd ordered that first night, just for the symmetry of it. When the food came, Lily said, "Can I tell you something?" "Always." That night, the real blind date who was supposed to show up, he texted me the next day, apologized for canceling, asked for a second chance. Adrian's heart stopped. "What did you say?" I said no. Told him I'd met someone else. "You didn't even know if you'd see me again." "I know, but I knew I wanted to, and that felt like enough." Adrian reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a small box. Lily's eyes widened. "Adrian, it's not what you think. I mean, it is, but also isn't. Just open it." She opened the box. Inside was a key. "What is this?" "Key to the penthouse. I'm not asking you to move in, not yet, but I'm asking you to have the option, to come and go, to be part of that space in a real way, to stop being a guest and start being whatever we are." Lily picked up the key, turned it over in her hand. "This is a big step." "I know." "What if it doesn't work?" "Then it doesn't work. But at least we'll know we tried for real." Lily put the key in her purse. "Okay." "Okay." "Okay, but I'm keeping my apartment." "Good. I love your apartment." "It's tiny." "It feels like someone actually lives there." They finished dinner, walked outside into air that was finally warm after a long winter. Emma and Marcus caught up to them on the sidewalk. "So?" Emma asked. "So what?" Lily said. "Did he do the thing?" "What thing?" Emma looked at Adrian. "You didn't do the thing." "I did a thing, just not the thing you're thinking of." Marcus laughed. He gave her a key instead of a ring. Classic Adrian. Baby steps toward commitment. "It's not baby steps," Adrian protested. "It's appropriate steps. Keep telling yourself that." They walked together toward the parking garage. 4 people who hadn't known each other a year ago, who'd been brought together by a mistake and a lie and a willingness to see past first impressions. Emma peeled off first, then Marcus, until it was just Adrian and Lily standing by his car. You want to come over? Adrian asked. To the penthouse? Yeah. I have a key now. I can come over any time. So is that a yes? Say, Lily smiled, kissed him. Not on the cheek this time, but properly. The kind of kiss that felt like a beginning instead of an ending. Yeah, she said. That's a yes. They drove to the penthouse. Ethan was asleep when they got there. Mrs. Chen had texted to confirm. The apartment was quiet, dark except for the city lights through the windows. Lily used her new key to open the door. It was a small thing, a piece of metal cut to match a lock, but it meant she belonged here, that this space wasn't just Adrian's anymore. It was theirs. They stood at the window together, looking out at the city that had brought them together. Do you ever think about that night? Lily asked. What would have happened if you'd walked to the right table? All the time. And I'm grateful I didn't. Grateful I was lost enough to make that mistake. Grateful you were kind enough to give me a chance. I'm grateful too. Even though you lied to me and put me through unnecessary emotional turmoil. I'll spend the rest of my life making up for that. The rest of your life? That's a long time. Is it? Lily turned to face him. Are we really doing this? Building a life together? I think we already are. It's going to be complicated. Your world and mine don't exactly align. Then we build a new world, one that's actually ours. Lily leaned her head on his shoulder. Adrian wrapped his arm around her. Below them, the city continued. Millions of people living millions of lives, making mistakes, finding connections, building and breaking and rebuilding. Somewhere down there, someone was probably sitting at the wrong table right now, making a choice that would change everything. Adrian hoped they were brave enough to stay, brave enough to be honest, brave enough to build something real from an unexpected beginning, because that was all any of them could do. Show up, tell the truth, hope that the person across the table saw something worth staying for. And then, if you were lucky, if you were honest, if you were willing to do the work, build a life that mattered, not because it was perfect, but because it was real.